genre.
To The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
And today on the show we'll be discussing the Macra Terror, the second Doctor's fifth story. Crabs.
Yes, crabs.
Yas, crabs.
Yas, crabs. So the Macra Terror, which is a, if you guys listen to the show, if you don't really go back and watch the classic Who stories and you're just listening to us talk about them, the Macra are I don't think they're exactly the same species, but they are like a sister species to the giant crabs that are in
sister species
in
Gridlock.
Wow, that really distracted me. I kept wanting to say Grindhouse at that point, and that wasn't right. Gridlock. Yes, the giant crab things in Gridlock.
Mm-hmm.
Similar species. So the crabs. So this story again, like our last one, is it does not exist. This is a reconstruction. I am completely heartbroken by the fact that this doesn't exist, because I think it's pretty fantastic, but we'll get there in a second. This story was written by Ian Stewart Black, who had written The Savages and The War Machines for the first Doctor, and then was contracted to write this story, which his initial idea was a story that took place at a holiday camp in which monsters were living under the earth. However, not wanting to reuse old monster concepts, they wanted to everybody involved, Jerry Davis, etc. They sort of got together with Black and they're like, okay, well, what kind of monsters have we not done yet? They're like, well, we haven't done spiders yet. All right, great. You are commissioned to write a story called The Spiderman.
Okay.
Yep. So he was given the Spiderman, and then at some point during the writing of the Spiderman, which is the Spiderman !
Sure.
Which I love. That would have been, if the Macra Terror, the only thing that could make the Macra Terror any better is if it ended in an exclamation point. I think. So the Spiderman, over the course of writing it,
that's a full almost 2 years after Spider-Man, so that's no excuse.
Yeah, well, there's no hyphen,
okay.
So
however, I'll allow it.
Hence your pronunciation of it.
Right, Spider-Man. Well, and also it's men, plural.
Oh, plural, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. So then that morphed over the course of writing. That morphed into the Insect Men, which does have a hyphen.
Insectmen.
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 Right.
Gotcha.
And then at that point, they decided that the Insect Men were too close to the Zarbi from the Web Planet.
Oh, man. I love that
So they
story.
were like, so they were like, let's just make them giant crabs. And they're like, okay. So they named them Macras, based on the genus name of Japanese spider crabs.
Which are terrifying.
Right. And so they were the Macra, and there we go. However, because apparently their story editor was bad, or maybe perhaps they just didn't have one at this point. I'm not sure. But in any event, there are several references throughout the story in which the Macra are referred to as insects. And that survived all the way through to transmission. No one caught that. At any point during the production or anything, people were just like, yeah, crabs are they're like the insects of the sea. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Shut up.
So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. There's not a lot here. As far as the production goes, the Macra crab creature was a 10-foot tall creature that they had to bring in on the back of a flatbed truck, like it was part of a parade float or something.
That's amazing.
It was just this huge thing, and they only built one. So at the end of 3, when we have 2 Macra, the director was forced to shoot out of sequence and basically just mirror image the thing, because they didn't even really want to move the damn thing like to another spot in the set. So they were just like, just move some stuff around and we'll mirror image it in post. Like, I don't, whatever. So yeah, it was huge. This was also the first story ever to feature the Doctor's face in the opening titles, which is, kind of a standard occurrence now. And what else? Lastly, Black, the writer, in the early 70s submitted a story called The Space War, but it went unmade, and so the Macra Terror ended up being his final story for Doctor Who.
Did that have an exclamation point?
No, I wish it did, though. That would make it that better. But I would love to see that, because I really like the War Machines. I don't quite remember the Savages, but I love the War Machines, and I love this story. So I feel like that. I think Ian Stewart Black was pretty good. I would have liked to have seen him write something for Pertwee, especially something called The Space War, which is pretty fantastic. So yeah, that's the Macra Terror. There's another like little shake up with the companion contracts that was happening now, but it didn't affect this story. So it was just happening while they were shooting it. They were figuring out contracts for when and where and who would be leaving and or continuing on.
Who could talk to who?
Yeah, or exactly. Yeah. Who was a mole? Who was a traitor? Who was brainwashed?
Who was being controlled by the Macra?
Right. Who was having bad dreams? Voices talking to them. Anyway, yeah. So that's the Macra Terror. The Macra Terror, Part 1, written by Ian Stewart Black, directed by John Davies, produced by Innes Lloyd, script edited by Jerry Davis, air date 11th of March, 1967. The TARDIS materializes just outside of an Earth colony in the future where a crazed colony member named Madoc has refused treatment and escaped. When he attacks the Doctor, Jamie, Ben, and Polly, the group subdues him, just as colony authorities find them and take Madoc into custody for correction. Ola, the chief of police, escorts them back to the colony, where they meet a man known as the Pilot, who thanks the strangers for their role in apprehending Madoc, offering them a relaxing spa day in return. As his companions take advantage of the colony's hospitality, the Doctor visits Madoc in prison to ask him about why he tried to leave this place. He mentions creatures that crawl the grounds of the colony at night before pushing the Doctor away and escaping his cell. Explaining the situation to Ola and the Pilot, they threaten the Doctor with correction before taking him and his companions to a labor center to learn more about the colony's purpose. In the caverns below the colony, workers tap and refine gas that is poisonous to humans. They are told this work is important, but no one seems to know why. The Doctor spots Madoc and slips away to meet him. Madoc tells the Doctor that the creatures have huge claws, which the Doctor remembers seeing on the TARDIS's time scanner when they first arrived. Madoc claims that others have seen the creatures too, but when they do, they're all sent to the hospital for correction. The curfew alarm sounds, and the Doctor agrees to meet Madoc once everyone is asleep to help him escape the colony for good. That night, the Doctor evades Ola and the guards on patrol, finding Madoc in a half-completed house. An escape hatch in the house leads the pair into the caverns below the city, and face-to-face with one of the giant crab-like creatures. right off the bat, I'm just like, oh, this is my kind of story. Like you've got okay, so they show up and having seen the crab hand on the TARDIS console screen.
Yeah.
At the end of the last story, and they show up and they're like, where are we? And the doctor's like, I don't know for sure. That's impossible to know. And it's like, well, that's not great.
Right.
He's like, I think it's Earth and I'm pretty sure it's the future. And, they run into this guy who sort of looks like if you could take the Beatles and take the 1964 Beatles, like the Ed Sullivan Beatles, combine them into a single person, then take the 1969 Beatles and merge them into a single person, and then merge those two merged Beatles into a single person. That's who this guy looks like.
Are you talking about my man Medoc?
Yeah, Medoc. Because he's got the Beatles haircut, but he's all like, he's got like the shaggy, he's got the scruffy beard, like the hippie beard.
He's got a Ringo face with Paul facial hair.
Yeah, it's true. So he's like running around trying to escape this colony, and they run into him, and then the colony soldiers, like they show up and they're like, hey, thanks for capturing this guy for us. Come on back to our colony. So they go back to the colony, and there's drum majorettes. They're just, I mean, they have like drum majorettes. It's just like ladies in drum uniforms drumming, just walking around, and everyone is really into it. So that's cool. And all of the future tech in this place is like the Jetsons, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like just this box where the doctor goes into it and his like head is on top of the box, and he's like, oh, what are you doing? And they're like, we're just checking stuff. And it's just all very Jetsons and goofy. And Jim Broadbent is on the intercom. He's just like, oh, everyone, please go back to your places, your stations. It's magical. Anyway, I love this. There's a curfew. Everyone is creepily happy and no one can figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
This was such an unsettling episode. I kept thinking about the British children of 1964 who got to see this in like full motion, because even in photographs and even in the limited motion that we see in the recon that we got to watch, the Macra are spooky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And before we even get there, just the colonies, like the music and like the summer camp like sing along stuff that's going on at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. There's a video game coming out from the people who made Borderlands. I forget what it's called, but it's this game where it takes place in like in like an alternate 1960s London. Mm-hmm. Where everyone is required to be happy all the time. So people wear masks that are smiling, and then you're trying to escape these people who are wearing masks that are smiling. It's like really creepy, but like everyone is happy, but they're not. They're being brainwashed. I don't know. It just reminds me of that, and I don't know. This story felt like you could remake this story now, and it would be just as good, I think.
Yeah, it also had a very big BioShock vibes from this.
It did,
as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
I recently read A Wrinkle in Time for the first time, because that was something I just like missed out on, I guess, when I was growing up. And
I would love to hear your thoughts on that someday.
Yeah. It this colony reminds me of that planet that they go to, where everyone's just like in sync and doing their jobs.
Everyone are one of the 5 members.
No, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Everyone's bouncing their toy ball at the same time. It's
Was Wrinkle in Time published before Doctor Who?
I
have no idea when it was published.
Yeah, because like that also was very early on, like one of the first times that science and like fantasy were kind of like, oh, we can talk about like metaphysics and the and all of a sudden that kind of does have a Doctor Who flavor to it.
It was published
62.
a year before.
Yeah.
Okay, so very little chance, but I don't know. Interesting.
Anyway, so there's a mysterious controller you can only hear their voice. And there's a dude called the pilot, which not that pilot. That's a different one. I don't know. Like, it's just getting to know this world, and then meanwhile, like, you know, you have these workers who are getting gas sickness and all of this, and you know, they're talking about you know, reprogramming people, and I don't know, like all of that stuff. I was just really into this world. Like, this feels like it feels like at this point Doctor Who as a show has sort of evolved into the show that we all know.
Yeah, like moving away from like the educational and more into hard sci-fi.
Right. Yeah. Where it's just like, no, we know what we are now. And this is what we are. And, you know, some writers are more successful than others, and that's still the case today. But it, like, when they hit on something, they just knock it out of the park. Cause I mean, this whole idea, especially in the 60s, I mean, this is a very, sort of 60s, you know, socio-political sort of
social
thing.
sci-fi.
Yeah. That's going on right now, you know, at this point where you have like the baby boomers, and the people who were in World War II, you know, having started families in the 50s, now have children, teenagers in the 60s, and their teenagers are like, I don't want to be like everyone else. And they're like, no, you're going to be like everyone else, or you're just like a freaky weirdo.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. And like,
then there was panic in the streets of London.
And this is like, you know, kind of that hippie free love. We're on the verge of that stuff happening, and everything, you know, rock music and all of that, like all of that is coming into play here. And it's cool. I like it. You know how
like in the 60s, like Lord of the Rings, the book kind of hit that wave at the right time, and you would see like buttons that said like Gandalf for president and like Frodo lives.
Yeah.
And I'm just picturing like an Earth 2 where just the Macra became like the symbol of like authoritarian, like, hey man, don't trust the TV, man. They're all just crabs, man. And just like
that's
like
amazing.
Spray paintings of the Macra like on walls in London.
Yeah. The Macra Terror, Part 2, written by Ian Stewart Black, directed by John Davies, produced by Innes Lloyd, script edited by Jerry Davis, air date 18th of March, 1967. Now that the Doctor has seen the creatures, Madoc is excited that he can finally prove that they're real. His shouting attracts the attention of Ola and the guards, who immediately dismiss their claims. The Doctor is released back to the refreshing department, while Madoc is sent to the hospital for another round of treatment. The pilot meets with the controller, the mysterious leader of the colony, who gives the order to brainwash the Doctor and his friends so that they will better adapt to their way of life. A voice speaks to Jamie and Ben while they sleep in their cubicle, but the new thinking patterns do not take hold of Jamie, who wakes up and tries to warn Ben, but Ben groggily brushes Jamie off and goes back to sleep. The Doctor hears the voices and checks on Polly, where he disconnects the machinery that was in the middle of brainwashing her. He races to Jamie and Ben's room to do the same, but Ben's brainwashing has been completed, and he reports the Doctor and Jamie's interference to Ola, and they are arrested. Angry that Ben would betray the Doctor, Polly escapes to the construction site to avoid him, but Ben follows her and violently attempts to bring her back to their rooms. Before he can manage, the crab creatures suddenly surround them and attack Polly. Ben manages to fight them off, and the pair escape back to the colony. Polly recounts the encounter with the crab creatures, known to the colony as the Macra, but Ben denies their existence despite having fought them off moments before. The Doctor demands to speak to the controller, who appears on a video screen as a nervous, elderly man whose voice does not match the controller's voice that they've heard since their arrival, convincing the Doctor that this man is not the real controller. Despite his pleading that he will obey, the man on screen is attacked by a crab claw that comes from off screen and is dragged away, prompting Polly to come to the conclusion that the Macra are in control of the colony. So, in episode 2, an evil voice is trying to brainwash our crew.
So creepy.
Oh, it's so creepy. Yeah. And it's like, there's just like that sort of like, I don't know, just that very, like, it was starting to brainwash me. Like,
I
just
know.
Like that really soothing, like kind of like ocean staticky sound, just like whoosh.
Oh yeah, all of the musical cues and just sometimes I wondered if it felt so modern in the context of when it came out. Like, I can only imagine what it was like hearing this on your television sets back then.
Yeah.
Honestly, this story, I think, you know, there are very few that I feel are like this. I think you know, Power of the Daleks was like this, and they, you know, it's. I think they ended up finding episodes and then animated like 4 of the 6 or whatever. But I think there's very few stories that I think you could do completely animated and pull it off. But I think this is one of them. Like, I think you could do something really cool with an animated episode of the Macra Terror. I don't know. I just think it's super.
They are so visually arresting. Just the idea of these like dark, big things with just these glowing eyes just waiting for you down in the depths of the sewer. It's just such an arresting image.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Jamie doesn't get brainwashed, and Polly doesn't get brainwashed. The doctor saves Polly, and Jamie saves himself and tries to save Ben, but Ben is like, "Shut up, leave me alone.
I'm sleeping.
I'm trying to be brainwashed." So
I thought this was a spa day.
Yeah. So Ben gets brainwashed, and there's this great, really creepy section where he's like hunting Polly in the caves. Oh man, Polly's really good in this story too, I think.
Yeah, this was this was a solid story for all 3 of the companions, I think.
Yeah.
Really highlighting why each of them are, you know, why there need to be 3 of them in one group.
Yeah. There's something about Polly as the sort of like
the Wendy.
I like how I don't even. I give you no hints, and you're like, I'm just going to throw something out there.
It's how we write. I mean,
yeah, I know. It's just funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to read your mind. Here we go.
Fictional characters.
What's that type of person that like they came back in the 80s, and it was like sort of like an alternative person, but they're like very like well put together and like kind of preppy and
like a mod.
Yeah, mod. Yes, thank you. That's exactly the word. Yeah. So like Polly as this sort of mod character in this kind of like brainwash Macra world of smiley happy people. It's just so iconic to me. It just feels like, oh, this is why she exists, is for this story.
And you know, and like all the love in the world to Susan and her like goofy children's show to me. And you know, she's not the only companion that we've compared to a children's show host, but there is something to be said about like Polly is very, and in their own way they're kind of cool. They're a little more, you can tell they're trying to talk to British teenagers in 1964.
Yeah.
Whereas Polly was sort of meant to be just like, but I'm a child.
Or
but like when they,
the opposite.
Yeah,
the
like,
opposite.
yeah, like
said,
when they
said,
go, sorry,
Polly.
Susan.
Yeah.
What Susan was like, just represented pure childhood. And these characters, Polly especially, seem to be more like, like the way they compliment each other. They're like, oh, he looks smashing, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really into mod Polly. I think she's pretty rad. I'd want to hang out with her. She's cool.
This would also, Scott and I were talking about how off mic that it takes a lot for us to even think about buying like a comic adaptation of something that we've already seen.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I would kill for like a killer like graphic novel adaptation of this.
Oh, like Jamie McKelvey drawing the
Oh,
Macra Terror?
dude, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because I just pictured a cover of like Mod Polly and like in really black and white colors, and then in the background you just see like the eyes of like a Macra and like Doctor Who.
Oh my god!
Now I just want to see a Jamie McKelvey drawn Jamie though, because that's pretty choice.
Yeah. I mean, I want that too. If I got a commission from him ever,
in like the Sergeant Pepper weird dystopian suit that he wears in this episode,
yes.
Hell yeah!
Yes. Well, when he first shows up, he's like literally wearing a mock turtleneck sweater and his kilt. And it's just the worst outfit. It almost looks like he's wearing like a baby blue or like a periwinkle. That's what I pictured. I mean, it's black and white, so
right.
You know, there's no color, but it's very light colored. And that's where my mind went. I was like, what is that? Like a periwinkle? It's Easter colors. But yeah, but you know what? Black and white aside, I would love to see this in like vibrant, like 60s Technicolor.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so rad. Anyway, so Ben is hunting Polly, she's like trying to run away because, you know, she's realizing what's going on around here. Well, the doctor realizes it and tells her, and then she's like, what? And then she's like, oh yeah, I guess that is what's happening. So she's running away from Ben, who's brainwashed, and then they both run into the crab. And I love that moment where Ben's reasoning is just like, she's like, I thought I saw something. He's like, that's impossible. This place is perfect. So because this place is perfect, there's no possible way there could be anything down here.
Yeah, it was funny how just down the hatch the Kool-Aid went for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there was outside influence, but
yeah. But down it went.
I know, that's really efficient brainwashing.
Yeah.
It took like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Not only
it's against the rules, Doctor.
Yeah. Not only did it brainwash him into wanting to like work the next day, but it was also like, now here are the rules, and here's how your brain is going to follow logic from now on. Mm-hmm. This is how it works. It's called circular logic. This is how your brain works now. It's just incredible. And then the Macra actually attacks Polly, and Ben tries to save her. He saves her, brings her back, and then she was like, I found a crab thing. And they're like, what? Those aren't real. Are they, Ben? He's like, they sure aren't. And Polly's like, what? Which is so great. And then finally, they're just like, yeah, well, I want to see this controller person because I feel like something crazy is going on. And then the controller people are like, oh yes, we will show you the controller. Here it is. And and they're like, some old man, and the old man's like, what do you want from me? And they're just like, talk to the people, you are the controller. He's like, well, okay, I'll tell him whatever you want. Yes, I am the controller. And then the crab, why did they film the crab leg attacking the guy? Why?
My headcanon is that he had a hot mic or something, and the crab was like, oh man, look, I gotta get, hold on. Like that was like a producer.
Equivalent of bringing out the little like Bo Peep hook and like pulling him out from off stage. Oh yeah, and then my other favorite thing. This is something that we never ever really get to talk about with these reconstructions, but one of my favorite things about reconstructions is that at certain points they will have real footage.
Yes.
And you're like, where did this footage come from? And what you find out doing research into reconstructions is that some countries who aired these episodes, when they would delete the episodes just like the main BBC offices would, but in other countries that had different standards, they would cut parts out of the episode that they deemed too scary. And then, so when they deleted the episodes later, it was after they edited out sections. So they deleted all of the footage except for the footage that they cut out. So sometimes they will find footage that exists of the stuff that they cut out of episodes. So everything that exists of this story are just the stuff that they cut out because they were too scary. And you watch it now and you're just like, Really, that's what you that's what you
I
cut
don't know,
out.
man. I mean, maybe because, my mind would lull itself into these are images and I'm listening to audio. And when movement would happen, when a macro would actually like move its claw, it would kind of like, oh, whoa, like jar me a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I don't know where that man came from.
This old man. There was this thing in Preacher where they like got a guy. They hired like an actor to pretend he was God, because they were like trying to hide the truth about where God went. So they just like hired an actor, and he's like, "Yes, I'm God," and he's got like a fake beard on, and that's what this reminded me of.
Well, it looks like the same guy, just like dressed up like an old person. But it's funny because like the voice that we've been hearing the entire time does not sound remotely like this guy's voice. So
right.
I don't know what they were trying to get him to talk about.
I don't know.
But
He just looks so tired.
I know.
They woke him up.
His 3 crab roommates are just terrible.
Wake up the old man.
I mean, crabs would make the worst roommates, I think. I mean, you'd have to have carpeted floors. You'd have to have carpeted floors.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you had hardwood floors, you'd never get any sleep. You just constantly hear tap, 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 tap.
They're
tap,
just
tap,
waking
tap,
up
tap.
in the middle of the night for a midnight snack, and he's like, I'm trying to sleep. There's like 3 sets of little crab legs.
Go back to sleep, old man.
You're just, oh my God, it just sound terrible. Like a machine gun outside. Yeah.
Old man.
That's why he's so tired. He never sleeps.
Yeah, they're just dragging him out of his bed.
Well, and he just hears the tapping and all hours of night. And...
Scuttling is one of my top 5 like worst noises.
Scuttling.
Yeah, any type of scuttling or like
the Macra scuttle.
Yeah, the Macra scuttle.
The Macra Terror, Part 3. Written by Ian Stewart Black, directed by John Davies, produced by Ennis Lloyd, script edited by Jerry Davis, air date 25th of March, 1967. The controller tells the pilot to forget what he's just seen and sends the doctor, Jamie, and Polly to the caverns for gas labor. The pilot orders Ben to go with them so that he can keep an eye on his friends. Upon arriving in the caverns, they are introduced to their shift leader, a newly brainwashed Madoc, who gives them all jobs to do. While probing for gas in the caverns, Jamie finds a locked door that looks recently installed, and the only person with a key is the man in charge of the labor department. When gas erupts in the department leader's face, Jamie uses the opportunity to steal his keys. Ben sees this happen and doesn't say anything, but he's unsure why. The doctor suggests that he may be recovering. Jamie uses the keys to go through the door, sounding an alarm. Polly tells Madoc where Jamie has gone and Madoc goes after him, but he's attacked by a Macra while searching. Jamie discovers Madoc's body and is shocked to discover a Macra nearby, but when he throws a rock at it, the Macra does not respond. Meanwhile, Ben's conditioning continues to break down, causing him to act more and more erratically with the other citizens of the colony. Meanwhile, the doctor and Polly try to analyze the gas that they are mining in an attempt to discern its purpose. When the controller orders that the gas be diverted into the shaft where Jamie is located, the doctor theorizes that the gas is being used to keep something alive. As Jamie begins to react to the poisonous gas filling the cavern, the inactive Macra comes to life and moves toward him. Jamie attempts to flee, but is met by a second Macra ready to attack. In episode 3, Ben sort of takes the mole spy thing. Like he's, I don't know why. What would you say is the difference between a mole and a spy? Aren't they like the same thing? Is a mole a type of spy?
I think a mole is like specifically for like infiltration. So like, and a spy is just like, I'm observing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because I know that, James Bond has been known to do some moling in his time.
Yeah.
But he is a spy.
I don't know.
A mole to
I
me.
Guess maybe it's like okay. So there's spies. That's the umbrella term, And then moles are like infiltration spies, and then you've got like recon spies.
Sure.
Who just observe.
Well, so a spy could very well be
spies who love you.
A mole to me implies someone who is making himself someone on the inside. He is establishing, I'm Bob. I work in sales. You can trust me.
Yeah. Well, that's what Ben's doing, I guess.
Yeah, and will like give information out over the course of like years, whereas a spy could do like surveillance. A spy doesn't necessarily have to insert himself into the whatever he's spying on.
Right.
Like James Bond never. God, if only James Bond just had like a trunk full of like costumes.
Oh, I hope that's what happens when they recast the role and they just kind of like do a soft reboot again. Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. So Ben is brought on board by the pilot or one of the guys, one of the guys in charge. And you're like, hey, you're gonna be our man on the inside, isn't that right? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I'm just like, guys, this is the worst idea because they all already know that he's brainwashed.
Right?
Like, he's not going to make a very good mole. But all right. He also starts losing his mind in this episode, which is that's fun because he's just constantly hearing voices and he's just like screaming and holding his head, which is good.
Yeah, I can imagine kids being like, "Geez."
Yeah, I know.
Is it in this episode or the next one where he's talking to that random clerk and she's just like, the voices are here to help us. They're our friends. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's just commonplace among people to just hear these random creepy voices all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely in this one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because the next one has like way too much stuff going on. I don't think it happens in that one.
Okay.
But yeah, that one was really creepy. I mean, everyone in this town is super creepy. Just like, yeah, the voices help us. It's like, oh, that's not good. That is not good.
Hey, don't knock the voices.
You need to look at yourself in the mirror and really just say that out loud while looking at yourself.
Start with the Macra in the mirror.
Yeah. Macra in the mirror.
Just staring at itself. Why?
We need to come up with a storyline that is called that we can pitch to Big Finish.
Yes.
The Macra in the mirror. It's amazing. Yeah, so this story is all about the gas. So there's that gas leak that hurt those dudes in part 1 and the doctor is like trying to figure out what this gas situation is this whole episode, and you have the controller and the pilot, and they're both, the pilot is like starting to sort of be won over by the doctor, like because the doctor has a nice face,
like everyone does eventually.
You're right, exactly. But the controller is a little more angry, we'll say. But the doctor basically, after, looking over all of this gas stuff, he basically comes to the conclusion that like maybe the purposes of the gas is to kill. Because the idea is like, they're like mining this gas or whatever, and they're like, I don't understand. Like, why, if the gas is hurting them, what the hell do they want it for? And so then the doctor comes up with the idea that like, oh, maybe it isn't for them. Maybe it's for something else. And then around that point Jamie gets surrounded by Macra. Cause this whole episode, like Jamie is just like in the caves with the Macra while the doctor and Polly watch and theorize about gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jamie's not in his comfort zone for a lot of this.
No. He's mostly alone. He has no idea what's going on. I mean,
he's wearing uncomfortable clothes.
It's basically on brand for Jamie, really. Like Jamie never knows what's going on. And
like even then, the show is like, it's funny when he's just like a wet cat, like a cat that's like,
no.
or just like, no, I gotta get out of here right now.
Yes. That's Jamie to a T. No. Oh, there we go. The Macra Terror, Part 4, written by Ian Stewart Black, directed by John Davies, produced by Innes Lloyd, script edited by Jerry Davis, air date 1st of April, 1967. The Doctor manages to lock the Labor Department leader out of the control room and manipulates the controls to cause oxygen to flow into the mining shaft where Jamie is located. The Macra attack Jamie, but the influx of oxygen causes them to slump and allows Jamie to escape. The Doctor and Polly escape into the mines just as Ola and some guards manage to open the control room door. Jamie escapes the mining shaft and returns to the colony where he is mistaken for an auditioning dancer before being found and arrested by Ola and Ben, who is still struggling with his conditioning. The Doctor and Polly find the chamber where the Macra are located and learn that they are using the humans to mine gas that they require for survival. They decide to find the pilot and share the truth about the Macra with him. Arriving in the pilot's office, the Doctor asks the pilot to accompany him into the mine so he can learn the truth. Despite the controller's panicked attempts to intervene, the pilot agrees to go with the Doctor. Once they've gone, the controller gives full control of the colony to Ola and orders the pilot and the Doctor be stopped. The Doctor takes the pilot to the Macra chamber where he accepts the truth and vows to destroy the Macra. They are captured by Ola's guards and taken to the pipe room with Jamie and Polly, where the Macra have ordered the 4 of them to be executed. As the room begins to fill with the poisonous gas, Ben reveals that he is in the mining control room. The Doctor quickly explains how to switch on the inflow and outflow together, and Ben throws the lever, triggering an explosion that closes off the mines and kills the Macra. Later, a dance festival is held in celebration of the Macra's defeat. In honor of the Doctor and his companions' help, the winner of the festival will be awarded the Stranger's Trophy. With the pilot becoming the colony's new leader, the Doctor is informed of the colony's intention to make the Doctor their new pilot. To avoid this fate, the Doctor and his companions use the cover of the festival to dance their way back to the TARDIS and immediately depart for a new adventure. So, Part 4, Polly finds a button that says 0 on it. And the Doctor's like, let's push that because that might be oxygen. So pushes the oxygen, it weakens the Macra, and Jamie gets out of there, thankfully. And he gets out of there and runs into a room where the scariest thing in the whole story is happening.
Oh my god, it's my favorite.
There's auditioning for some sort of like cheerleading practice, and they have this chant where they're all saying like the voices are good, the voices are nice, like the voices do everything that is right or something. Like it's really creepy, but they are rah, but they're very happy about it, to the point where their leader, like the cheerleader of the cheerleaders, is basically like, all right, that's great. We said that in unison, but let's do it again, only happier.
Yeah.
Yeah. The scariest part of this scene to me is the implication that they've been doing this for hours.
Yes. Yeah.
And that they're not, and they're cool with it.
Yeah. It's horrifying. It's really horrifying. And credit to the filmmakers, it's uncomfortably long. Yes.
Yeah, they do the whole routine twice in its entirety.
Yeah. Once very intensely, and then again intensely with fake smiles plastered on their faces.
They make you, the viewer, afraid that you might be memorizing it.
Yeah. It reminds me of that moment in That Thing You Do when the singer steps up to the mic in the recording booth and is just like, I quit. And he's like laughing while saying I quit and snapping his fingers. Like that's what it reminds me of, because it's just so like what they're saying and how happy they are about saying it are in just direct contradiction to each other. And it's really off-putting.
It's like every high school pep rally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like
a BioShock pep rally.
Yeah, it's yep. Yep. So Jamie wanders in and is horrified by what he sees, just like all of us would. We're all Jamie in this moment. And they're like, "Oh, you must be the guy who's auditioning to be a dancer." And Jamie's like, "What? Yes, I guess.
Of course I am."
So they're like, I want to see what you got. Start dancing. Dance. And he's like, oh, okay. So he starts dancing, and they're like, oh, that's pretty good. What do you call that? He's like, I call it the Highland Fling, because I fling to the door. And then he flings to the door and tries to escape, but then...
I don't know if we brought this up, but there's a real Marty McFly quality to Jamie.
There is. He's like the Scottish Highland Marty McFly.
Because I just keep thinking of like a cat when something falls.
Yeah. Well, or like a cat who has somehow managed to get like a plastic bag attached to their tail. Just like running laps around the house, and you're like, you just stop moving, you freak! I'll pull it off your tail.
I love Jamie.
Where's the dog, the humble dog? If you put a plastic bag around, it'll kind of just go with it.
Yeah. Well, did you see that video where those those people like gave their Labrador or their golden retriever an egg?
Yes.
To see if the egg would break in its mouth, and it just takes it in its mouth and then just holds it there and just has this worried expression on its face. I was like, I've never seen a dog have anxiety before. That's really sad. Oh man. But yeah, Jamie is definitely the cat with the plastic bag on its tail. So he flings himself out and then immediately gets captured by guards and taken away. And then at this point, the doctor also figures out that he figures out what's going on, and the reason why the controller is played by an actor is because the voices that they're hearing, the controller voice, is actually the voice of the Macra, who have some sort of mind control abilities that they're using on everyone to brainwash them, to give them gas that they feed on and need to survive. And they're making everybody happy and controlling the world. It's a happy town made by crab people. Like, it's amazing.
Great. It's amazing. It reminded me, to me, the scariest, coolest thing about Cthulhu is that Cthulhu is actually really smart and is like cunning and like fully capable, but he communicates with you like mentally, but he's also this big, huge, scary creature. And I'm like, oh, that's what's, and to me, I felt a similar, like, it's scary that these giant hulking crab things are also like, have been talking to you this whole time.
Yeah. When I was watching this, his voice was bothering me because it felt really familiar. And when he got really angry, I finally placed it. It sounds like frickin' Plankton from SpongeBob when he gets angry.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh,
holy
man.
crap.
I almost... God, there's like a 10% chance that that's related.
I know. But when he gets really manic, and I'm just like, oh, why does that oh, it's Plankton. Oh.
Yeah. God, he wants those Krabby Patties. Oh my God, they're Krabby Patties. Oh my God.
We did it.
We did it.
1% evil, 99% hot gas. That's the crab people.
Yeah. Wow.
Mr. Krabs is a Macra.
Wow. That's incredible. I'm on board for all of that.
Oh my God.
Do we ever see the guy who sounds like Jim Broadbent, or do we just hear him on the making announcements?
It's hard to say in this version.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's just like at one point, he's talking and, he's talking about the curfew, like, oh, everybody get to bed. It's curfew.
Yeah. Happy sleep time, everybody.
Oh, yes. I remember thinking that he sounded like he was from like Quebec almost.
Oh, wow.
Like get to do your, like he just, he had like a, you're right.
I kept waiting for him to be like, and look out for the man with the great big bushy beard.
Oh, get to your homes before the crabs take you away.
See, you sound exactly like him. That's what he sounded like. He sounded like somebody doing like a really good Jim Broadbent impression. That's what he sounded like.
Oh man, such a creepy episode.
Yeah. Oh, but it's like, it's
great.
a good one. I think
Yeah,
it might be. I think it might be like top 3 Troughton for me. I really love this.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's really good.
This is everything I love about like this era of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
because it's not a base under siege, which is
Right.
like, 9 out of 10 of Troughton stories is a base under siege, and it's not a base under siege. And yeah, I just remember when I first started watching this classic Who stuff, people were like, I just remember seeing people really dismissive of this story, and then I saw it and I was like, what are you talking about? This is so good. Oh my God. Telepathic crab people. Come on.
Yeah, I could definitely. I know they have to be hard to like translate, compared to a Dalek, which is like, any child can make a Dalek. No, I'm kidding. But it would be really cool to see the Macra like come again into this new era of Who we have coming up, because I just think they're super effective.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them in that story
in the grids.
In Gridlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't. I think they were like non-telepathic variety of Macra.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't evolved.
Micro.
And like their presence in that episode feels like more of an Easter egg than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would love to see 13 go up against the Macra. I would be on
or just any episode. If the twist is there's just a Macra underneath everyone, I'm automatically fine with it.
just 13 coming in the room and just joining in with the cheerleading,
right?
Like just being really into it. Yeah, I would love it so much.
Like, imagine if there was a make an episode where there's a Macra under like a high school.
Oh my God,
Buffy.
I'm just gonna cut that out so we can just hold on to that.
Okay.
For that day, one day in the future when we finally get to write a Doctor Who story.
There you go, the Macra in the mirror.
Principal.
The Macra in the mirror.
The mirror.
So there's a quote that the Doctor says in episode 4 that I wrote down because it's so quintessentially Troughton, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And he says, "I think there's no need to be afraid. Come on, let's find out." And I love that so much. I think that just wraps up the essence of the show in a way that's like super, it's so silly, but I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's totally something the Doctor would say.
Yeah. You can really, I always remember Matt Smith in his early days talking about how Troughton was the Doctor that he found himself revisiting the most or thinking about the most. Mm-hmm. And you can really see it in moments like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole opening of the 11th hour, right? It was just like, like 11 talking to little Amy, little Amelia, and just being like, I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. Let's go find out.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. And then we also, after, they figure out a way to mix the input and output valves, which is going to trigger an explosion. And what I love about it is like the Macra are trying to convince Ben not to do it because Ben is still suffering from brainwashed tendencies. Mm-hmm. And they're like, don't do it. Don't do the thing. You'll kill everyone, not just us. And he's like, I don't care. And he does it anyway. And then this does this really dramatic, like negative explosion thing. And then it just comes back into the drum majorettes, and they're celebrating that they won the day. And I'm like, okay, there's something missing between these two things.
I know, it's such a hard cut.
Oh man,
it's really funny.
It's just like Ben screaming in existential terror, and then the drum majorettes. It's amazing. But they announced that they're going to have a stranger day where they're going to give away the stranger's trophy because of how the strangers helped them defeat the Macra. They're going to do it every year, Strangers Day, and the Strangers Trophy. Wow, the Strangers, the Strangers Day,
The Strangers Day.
and then someone's like, "I heard a rumor that they want you to be the new pilot, Doctor," and he's like, "Oh, great!" And then he's like, "Everyone, dance to the TARDIS."
Right? Let's tap dance our way out of here.
Yeah,
Oh man, never have I wished that a piece of this footage survived more.
I know. You know, the drum majorettes, they just dance with the drum majorettes and they just keep dancing together as a group, the four of them. They just dance all the way into the TARDIS. It's amazing. And that's how the story ends. Like, I love this so much. This is like everything I love about Doctor Who in like one story.
I really do wish that it existed, because I feel like it would be, I would like it a lot more. Like, there are some reconstructions that I feel hold up despite them being reconstructions, but this one kind of suffers from it very much, because it's a lot of atmospheric, like, spooky stuff that doesn't really translate well to audio. Yeah,
I agree. It should be animated. Like I said, this is one of the ones that I think should be fully animated. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to do it because I guess they just don't sell well.
Animated, like this especially, because it's already super pulpy, but like with the black and white flash animation would be so cool.
I know.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And what's crazy is, like, I mean, just like they did with Power of the Daleks, you could do a color version and just make it really bright and vibrant, like crazy 60s colors, and it would be super rad. And you could have the black and white one as an option on the DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
I just, there's such an opportunity for some really, like we say, like BioShock or like or Orwellian imagery that could translate so well to animation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Telepathic crab people.
Exclamation point.
Oh, it's amazing. My God. Okay. Anyway, I love this story. This is I have to check back through, but I think this is up there with the Mind Robber for me.
Wow.
For like favorite second Doctor story. It's real good.
It's fun. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. Cause I really love his two Dalek stories. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I love them as much as other people do. I prefer the more wackier Dalek stories, and those are just like legit good. And so they lose a little bit of the magic for me, because I'm just like, oh, that was just good. It wasn't crazy. It was just good.
I really like Fury of the Deep as far as like reconstruction Troughton episodes that hold up really well. Ooh. I don't know if you've seen that one yet, but that one's good.
I think it's the next one we're doing, right?
No, it's got Victoria in it, so it's later on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I forget what the next one is then that we're covering with him. I think it's, let's see here. Faceless Ones is what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Ben and Polly are leaving.
Yeah. They sure are.
And what will Jamie do then?
He'll have a new playmate.
Who are you? Where did they go?
So good. All right. Well, that's the Macra Terror.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I love this crab.
It's good. I mean, that's literally how it ends. I mean, you joke like ba-da-ba-ba-da.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's totally the end of this. Of them just dancing.
It's like his retirement party.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So that's the Macra Terror.
Yeah.
Go check out all of our other shows at duelinggenre.com. We will be back next week with Terror of the Autons.
Yeah.
Third Doctor story. That's some good stuff.
Love me some Autons. Question mark? Do I love Autons?
I just like how you immediately question. But you know what? I'll say this. The Autons featured in 4 of the greatest Doctor Who stories ever. So
yeah.
Their track record is pretty good.
Yeah, they're
all
the
things
John
considered.
Cazale of Doctor Who characters.
Yeah,
The next
they're
one-
very low key about it.
The next one is the introduction of a companion and the introduction of the master, and there's Autons, and it's Pertwee.
Yeah.
It's a good time all around.
It's a real good one. Circus Master.
Yes.
Traveling Circus Master.
The best.
Winnebago TARDIS. Nick is just like, oh my god.
If I may, I do want to end things just in closing on.
Oh
the
my god!
Macra.
Wait! Before you get to that,
Yeah.
I just realized this is going to be your first Roger Delgado, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've never met Roger Delgado before.
Oh my god.
No.
This is going to be incredible. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm excited. I just want to read. This is the opening paragraph to the Macra entry on the TARDIS wiki. Quote: "The Macra were a gigantic crustacean race that fed on unclean gases which were poisonous to humans. The Macra resembled crabs. They would consume humans whenever possible. Eventually, the Macra fell into evolutionary decline, reverting to mindless creatures in the depths of New York." And there we will leave them.
So those were the Macra.
Yeah, they de-evolved.
That's crazy.
Oh, wow. Holy moly. I just assumed they were like a sister species that didn't evolve.
Mm-hmm. Get it again.
And full circle.
There you go.
Here we go. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We will be back next week. Go to duelinggenre.com/support. Become a Patreon member so we can do that Doctor Who and the Daleks movie. All right. Bye.